Welcome to MotoGP Mac. And in today's video, we're going to talk about Marc Marquez. Fuck's sake. Welcome back to another episode of MotoGP Mac. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the Czech Grand Prix that just happened at Brno. Now, before we get into it, here is how it finished. Marc Marquez won it from Marco Bezzecchi, Pedro Acosta, Pecco Bagnaia, Raul Fernandez, Fabio Quartararo, Jorge Martin, Brad Binder, Pol Espargaro, Jack Miller, Fermin Aldegar, Luca Marini, Johan Zarco, Aya Agura, Alex Rins, Fabio Di Gianantonio, Miguel Oliveira, and Augusto Fernandez was the last one across the line. Enea Bastianini had a big off. Joan Mir and Alex Marquez came together. Marquez lost the front and took Joan Mir out, which they had a nice little argument in the gravel trap after. But to get on with the race started off pretty much a carbon copy of yesterday's sprint race. Pecco got a good start, so did Marquez. Marquez passed him, I think, into turn 3 or turn 4 at the first opportunity to pass. Marc did it. And, realistically, then Bezzecchi came along, overtook Marc, and, for the majority of the race, Bezzecchi did lead the way until Marc decided to pull the pin. And to be fair, I think this is probably Marc's best race I've seen him do. He was patient when he needed to be patient, gave it time, then made his move, and then just controlled things from there. And, that is how you win races at the slowest normal speed that you do. Like he was doing 54s, dropped in towards the end of the race into the 53s, broke people's spirits, and that was the end of it. But, all in all, really good race. First Ducati rider to win 5 races on the bounce, and well deserved today for sure. Marco Bezzecchi rode a really, really good race. He pretty should go well here. As mentioned before, this track is extremely wide, 16 meters wide. It is billiard table smooth. The corners, there's not a lot of tight corners. There is some, but there is not a lot. And the corners are kind of open and arching corners, which does suit the Aprilia's aerodynamics. Pedro Acosta took his first podium in KTM colours. Remember, he took podiums before, but they were in gas colours. Always good when the CEO of the company is around to take those type of podiums. Pecco Bagnaia, not a bad race, but didn't seem to have pace in the first 10-12 laps, and then made a complete balls of his last lap when he had Pedro Acosta firmly in his sights. I think he was down to within 2-3 tenths of a second, and then made a complete balls of the last lap. Raul Fernandez did an outstanding performance today. It won't take that away from him. Just needs to be more consistent in getting it up there to secure his ride for next season, in my honest opinion. Fabio Quartararo was good on the non-horsepower related parts of the circuit, but was getting eaten up the hill. Now, not every time, but majority of the time you could see the Ducatis and the KTMs and the Aprilias did have the extra legs coming up the hill. Jorge Martin, I'm really outstanding ride from him on weekend, really. Do you know what I mean? Sensible all weekend. Finishing 7th overall in today's race. It's not a bad feat, for your first time coming back on a bike that you barely really know. So it was really, really good weekend from him. Brad Binder as well, making up 11 spots from where he started. He did have a battle with Aldegar across the line, and for some reason Aldegar has dropped to 11th in the timing sheet, so maybe picked up a penalty for touching green paint or something. It's not been announced yet what the penalty was, but it is showing on the timing screens. Pol Espargaro, another one of the riders of the weekend for me. Last weekend at the Saxon Ring he was commentating, and this weekend he is finishing 9th. And when you look at it, the list of names behind him, this is a test rider now for KTM, and he's pulling out performances like this. Saying that, KTM do go well around Brno. It's been a good circuit for KTM in the past in the big class. So not overly surprised, but kind of surprised that Pole was able to get in there. We know normally test riders are about 1.5 seconds off the pace, but Pole, to be fair, did buck that trend. Jack Miller started 10th, finished 10th, solid. Rumours still going around that he is to join the factory team in place of Rins next season. But let's wait and see. His fate and future is to be decided over the course of the next couple of weeks of the summer break. Fermin Aldeguer, as mentioned, he actually finished ahead of Brad Binder in 8th, but some sort of penalty. But he did do a good ride, was very aggressive when he needed to be, sensible when he needed to be as well. Luca Marini found out the circuit in Brno is a little bit more difficult than the Sachsenring, but saying that 12th on his second race back from injury and the type of injuries that he had is not a bad feat, first hand at home also. Johan Zarco dropped 4 places, dropped steadily backwards, not like a stone, but not the best race for Zarco. Ayagura, not a bad race from him, up 6 spots. Really seemed to struggle to get to know the circuit. Remember, some of these riders like Ayagura, Aldeguer and them, they would never have really been here before either. Maybe early stages of the junior classes, so it's not an excuse, but it's probably what really happened. But Ayagura does probably need to pick up the pace a small bit to keep the strong start to the season that he had going. Alex Rins, I don't really know what to say about Rins. I like Rins an awful lot, but finishing in 15th place on a factory Yamaha, 11 places behind your teammate, it's not great. And, you could say something if he was the second Yamaha home, but he's not. Fabio Di Giannantonio, well, look, sometimes you just have a shit weekend, and I think this weekend was a shit weekend for Digi. Yesterday, obviously, he crashed out. Today, maybe feeling a bit of the effects of that, but not a good weekend at all for him. When he was lapping like 1.8 seconds, a lap slower than Mark on the same bike. Miguel Oliveira, 17th, started 17th, finished 17th. Not really anything major that you can write home about. If I were him, I would be very worried about, am I going to keep my seat next season? And Augusto Fernandez, a test rider in there, finished kind of where we expected him to finish. All in all, I thought it was a good race. Wasn't an electric race. Was more of a race of strategy, and I suppose with the new tarmac, chewing tires, everyone was kind of being a little bit cautious, let's just say. But saying that, it was always good to see a circuit like Brno. It's complete contrast to what we were in Sachsenring, so it was a really good race. I did enjoy it, even though it wasn't the most entertaining. But I would definitely love to know your thoughts. What did you think of the Czech Grand Prix in Brno, and who was your rider of the day? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video.